Hey guys, it's Terry at Lithos and Lasers, and what I'm going to talk about today is jigs. So a lot of people will want to engrave on a coaster, they'll want to engrave on something, and then they'll line it up in the Glowforge UI and then come in and say, hey everybody, it's totally lined up in the UI. Why didn't it print where I told it to? Why is it, half inch over to the right or whatever? So this is the simple fix for that. This is a foam board, Readi-Board, that I get at Dollar Tree. It's a $1. Well, it's $1.25 now. So this is just a foam board, and this piece is from Ross. It was from Walmart, but typically it's the Readi-Board stuff. It works the same though. So the point is, we're going to cut out a couple of shapes. We're going to engrave on that guy. We're going to engrave on that guy. And for a bonus, we're even going to engrave on that guy. And so I'm going to show you the basic procedure on how to get everything lined up in the Glowforge UI. We're going to cut out a spot for these things. Then we're going to pull out the foam, drop our items in, run our engrave, and they are going to be perfectly centered, even if the Glowforge camera says that we are off. So that is the plan. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pin my Readi-Board down, and at the end here, I'm even going to show you how you can use a jig that is even smaller than your product. So we could make our jig for our bear, right? And we could have only this much material. And as long as our bear is in there and we have somewhere for it to live, we don't actually need to use a whole, the matching amount of Readi-Board. So that might sound confusing. It will totally make sense before we're done. So you see that I'm pinning my stuff down. I pin everything down. You also see that customer asked me what colors of green spray paint I had today, and it did not wash off. My nozzle was everywhere. Anyway, so we're gonna go measure these shapes, and then we're gonna tell the Glowforge where to engrave them. And then just real quick, to measure these things, we're going to be using our trusty calipers. These ones are like $8 from Harbor Freight, and we'll use this to measure how big our items are, so we can recreate a basic shape in the Glowforge UI for how big each item is. And we will even do an engrave on this thing, just to show you how accurate it is. All right, so here we are in the Glowforge UI, and it's a blank slate right now. And so first, I have a circle that I want to engrave on. And now I'm gonna do everything in the Glowforge UI. If you don't have premium, you would do the same thing, but you would do it in Illustrator or Inkscape or whatever. Again, these don't have to be perfect. They just have to get us in the ballpark. So one of my circles is 74.1, that's millimeters. Let's go inches, 2.91. All right, and another one of them, well, I actually have two of them. All right, so I'm going to do one in the center. I'm going to do one kind of down here. I have a heart. Now, I I don't have to use the same shape heart. I just need to get in the ballpark. So, because we can do a lot using our positions here. So, I'm just going to make a small square that is 1.46. At least it is 1.46 wide. And height-wise, 1.37. So I don't know if you noticed, I turned off the aspect ratio lock and that let my shape be different width than height. And we're gonna drag that thing way up over here. So now let's add some text. I'm centered. Sure. We'll move that here in a second. Gonna add some more text. I'm on the left. Unfortunately, with all of the things that they keep adding to Glowforge UI, a second line doesn't seem to be an option still. So that's unfortunate. That's dumb. In fact, I'm just gonna go left. Actually, let's make it a little bit better than that. Let's use some art. So let's use, how about this little bunny? So we're gonna put the bunny on the heart. And I will play with the position in a second. Right now I'm gonna get the Y position. So what I'm doing is I'm grabbing the X and the Y coordinates. In this case, it's gonna be dead center. In fact, for this placement, just for the moment, I'm gonna show you, this is the top center. Actually, top didn't matter there. Top would matter for our Y coordinates. See that? So we are lined up to the top of that box that I just moved. Yeah. If we wanted the bottom of that, we could just grab the bottom, grab our Y coordinate, paste that in. And then from here, if you wanted to just be a little bit higher or something, you can just use your keyboard, tap it where you want it. All right. So I'm centered. Let's go see if we can find a bullseye. See if we can spell a bullseye. Let's guide this guy. So, how big is this circle? It is 2.91. Let's grab that. Let's make this guy 2.91 also. Now, I'm going to center this graphic in here, and it's a bit smaller, a little bit smaller because this arrow counts into my dimensions, right? So we're going to grab the center of our Y coordinate. we're going to grab the center of our X. Is my item not the same size? 2.912, that's pretty close. Wonder why. Let's grab center, center. Well, let's make our second item just a little bit smaller then. And that whole thing is centered on our artwork, on our circle. So for the Readi-Board, I have a preset that I use, Dollar Tree Foam Core. That preset is 300 speed, 80 power. So I'm going to set up all of our shapes like that with our preset. And those are going to be the first thing I want to do. So we're going to cut those. And then we can do the artwork in them afterwards. Let's grab that shape. Hope what I'm doing here with our X and Y coordinates is making sense to you. And then I have a stick, and the stick, it's just an acrylic piece of scrap. It is 0.38 wide. I'm sorry, tall. And then it's pretty long. It's actually longer than my caliper. Oh. I love when Glowforge UI does this. 9 inches. All right. I just hit enter on the web page to refresh it because it just glitched out and was stupid. All right, so turn off our lock. Let's go 9 inches wide. And let's put that in at an angle, just some weird, right? And that one's gonna get the same cut setting. Can we see what angle that is? It doesn't give us a number, huh? Okay, well there it is. So, you have a bunch of stuff. It's at random spots on your board. Oh, let me set up. This is foam. Well, actually this is just a cut. So I don't need to set up anything for these jobs right now. We're going to ignore them. All right, so we got 4 cuts ready to go. So let me set focus. Setting focus only measures the thickness of your material to the laser head. It will help you align things, but that's not its job and it's not accurate. Okay, so we are not aligning with the camera. And you'll totally see why here in a moment. All right. Let's go way over there. Let's kind of go there. Let's go kind of there. All right. So this is going to be very quick, and let's go cut out some shapes. Okay, we're out here. Glowforge is ready to go. 45 seconds, we are making a jig. All right. So this being the other foam core, my settings weren't quite right. So I'm just gonna go not move anything. I'm just gonna run a second pass. All right, so something that you didn't see is that when I went in there to set up my second pass and I had to hit set focus again, I set focus over here. And my screen says everything is jacked up and not gonna cut anywhere near where it is. And you know what? It's a lie. So, you see that? I am exactly the same place I was, even though my Glowforge screen shows everything way off. Because you can't trust the camera on the Glowforge to align anything. That's why you have the X and Y coordinates. All right. So there we go. See that? A heart fits into our box. Coaster fit. And our coaster fit. So now we're going to go back to the Glowforge UI and we are going to turn on our engraves for those things. So we are back at the UI, and what we're going to do is we're going to turn off all of these cuts that were the cuts for our jig. And then we have at least 3 things that we're going to engrave. So I'm going to set focus on one of the items. Now, using autofocus, it's going to use the same focus for all items. And that's what I prefer. However, if you were using different size items here, then what you would do instead is when you set up your engrave or whatever, you would also manually enter the height of that material, the height of that material, so it could set focus in between each item. All of my items are the same pretty much, so we're going to leave that at auto. So, this thing, I'm going to do a quick score. We don't need to engrave that thing. But actually, I'm going to do a score for almost everything, just for the sake of time. I'll go ahead and engrave the text. 1090.
That's good. And then we're gonna put something across here. That's gonna be slightly more difficult because they didn't give me an angle, right? So when I type in my text, I can't say, oh, that text was at 92 degrees. Because the awesome Glowforge Premium that you pay $15 to $50 a month for is still very lacking. Do you remember how tall that was? I think it was 0.37, something like that. By, let's say 8. Okay, my text disappeared on me. One of the tricks to sizing things is to size it before you rotate it, because when you rotate it, then you get all of that height from the rotation is part of your size. That looks pretty good. So I'm gonna get it in the ballpark. Maybe. Okay, so let's grab our Y coordinates. Let's grab our X coordinate. So if this is wrong, that's wrong because of my angle, not because of the camera. Okay, so I'm gonna show you something. I'm gonna set focus way over here. And you're gonna see kind of like what you see is going on right here, where it says that I am totally misaligned. And it would be very tempting to grab this and use my arrows to kind of nudge it to where on the camera it looks correct. That would actually screw everything up. Now I am going to make one change over here to our bunny, because our bunny appears to be just a little bit too big. So let's go 0.75. You see I didn't have the coordinates locked to the aspect ratio. So there we go. Now let's put our bunny back in the center. Now, if this was something like a coaster and you were going to be doing a whole bunch, maybe you were gonna do one coaster and then take it out and then swap in a new name and do another coaster. You could totally do that. Maybe this coaster was gonna have a bunny and the next one was gonna have a deer, right? You would just come in here, delete your bunny after you were done. Let's try to keep all the legs on that deer. There we go. So then you said, okay, I just did a heart with a bunny, now I want to do a heart with a deer. You're going to grab your coordinate, copy, paste, copy, paste, and now your second coaster, heart, whatever, would have your new design. Directly centered on your item. So we're going to stick with a bunny. We are all ready to go. Our camera says that we are not aligned. We are not going to care. Oh, but we are going to assign something for our text over there. I'm going to just do a score. Because at an engrave, that's going to engrave like this. Right? Back and forth forever. So I'm just going to score it. If you are ever doing an engrave, engraving sideways is way faster than engraving up and down. And so if it's the only engrave you have on a project, it's better to rotate your material so that you can get your engrave to go left and right versus vertical. Okay, let's go engrave it. Or score it. All right, so can you see? I am centered. That is our bullseye design. Here's our text. Here's our bunny. Now, if you wanted to add something, you could leave this in here. You could do another cutout of another shape, drop something else in here that you're going to engrave, score, whatever. So now what I'm going to show you, what it's talking about with your jig not having to be the same size or bigger than your item. Let me get this stuff out of here. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to engrave on the back of that bear, and we're going to do it with a tiny jig. So this is going to be our jig for our bear. Now I'm just going to make sure that we're starting out flat. So I just came up 5. Okay. What's going to happen is we're going to go set up our jig with a big rectangle. We're going to come in here and we're going to engrave our bear. So let's go set up our cut. The reason that we're cutting bigger is because we need that rectangle for the shape of our item in order to be able to align stuff to that total shape. So, here comes our bear. Pretty good. All right, let's go put some text on this bear. All right, let's give our bear a name. So I'm going to set focus, but I'm not setting focus for alignment. I'm setting focus to measure the height of my wood. So If you get the reference, you can comment below. Make it just go 3 wide. Remember, aspect ratio. All right, so for the moment, let's find the center of our bear. This is the center of the entire shape. Okay. Now this is the important part. I am not aligning anything to the camera. I don't care that the camera exists at all. I'm aligning this to the box in a basic shape of the item I'm putting on. So that looks good to me. Humphrey, let's engrave that. You notice I'm using manual settings. Always manual settings or a saved preset. Don't use Glowforge presets. For engraves and stuff, you're kind of good, but just it's a bad habit to get into. It's a better habit to figure out what speed and power that you want to use and to type that in yourself. All right. So don't forget to turn off your outer cut because you don't need it anymore. We're just going to name our bear. So let's go do that.
One more time. All right. First you grab a bear, then engrave a name, bump, bump. So. What? Sandy clean? All right, so what have you learned? You have learned how to use Readi-Board to make a jig, to cut your basic shape in that Readi-Board, ignore the camera, remove your cutout, put in your coaster, your earring, your keychain, whatever it is that you're gonna be putting your text on, and then using the Glowforge UI alignment tools to place your text or whatever on your item, ignoring the lying camera that says that your stuff is off. The Readi-Board that I get at Dollar Tree comes in black or white, and this is what its label is. Now, I prefer this and I use it all the time. You are more than welcome to use something like poster board. It's going to be thinner. It's going to be slightly cheaper. If you get white, it's 2 for $1.25. But there's not as much room to grab your item and keep it into place as there is on the Readi-Board. So I hope you learned something. I hope I was able to teach you something new that you can use all day long to make that money. So if you like my content, like, subscribe, tell your friends, all that stuff. Otherwise, I'll see you on the next one.